Hi, my name is Kylie. I'm in 12th grade. I go to New Bern High School, and it's CTE month, so we're here featuring the EMT and public safety class, and the teacher is Miss Bell.
Hi,
Oh,
Kylie.
so what inspired you to become an EMT and public safety instructor?
So I've been a paramedic for a little over 25 years and worked here in Craven County for all 25 of those years. As you get older, it's a little bit harder to carry people up and down stairs and do that as full-time work. But when I found out there was an opportunity to teach high school kids EMS and get them into the EMT program, it was kind of a great way to continue on in my career.
Okay. Um, how does this program prepare students for real emergency situations?
Well, students, I mean, they receive their emergency medical responder and their EMT certification. There's several former students that now work on an ambulance with me. This time next year, once you've graduated and gotten your EMT certification, you could find yourself as my EMT partner. So literally taking care of 911 calls and patients that are sick or injured with me or any other EMS person here in the county.
What hands-on experiences do students get in the EMT and public safety program?
So for public safety, they get a lot of, actually get their 911 dispatcher certification and basic first aid CPR. The EMR and EMT class actually gets to go out and do clinical ride time on the ambulance with our local rescue squads on actual 911 calls. I think you've gotten to do a couple of those, haven't you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I enjoy doing them. Um, what are some of the most critical skills students learn in this field?
There's so many skills. I'm gonna have to say the most important is they learn to recognize, intervene in emergencies, and literally save lives. We've had students that administered Narcan to patients that were overdosing. We had a student deliver a baby. Um, One of our students is now a senior at Western Carolina University and is the chief of Western Carolina EMS. It's an all student run EMS that services the campus there. So there's a lot of life saving skills, just a lot of skills in general for students, an opportunity for them to grow.
Have you really enjoyed teaching? Or, like, do you like being out in the field better?
They're two very different things. I have enjoyed teaching, and teaching high school students is definitely different than teaching the same exact class at the college. Some of the things that I hear in a high school room make me laugh a lot more. It's a little bit more rewarding. It's actually a lot harder than I was expecting to teach high school students what you guys are learning and what students are trying to accomplish in this class is actually very advanced skills and very difficult concepts. So it's been really rewarding to watch kids go from saying, "Oh, I can't stand to see any blood," to Miss Bell, I got my first 911 call to see them holding up that patch when they get their certification. So it's been pretty fun, actually. So yeah, I do really like it. Now my heart will always be on the back of an ambulance because that's
Yeah.
my career, my passion. But I do love teaching the next generation of EMTs as well.
Okay. Um, what certifications can students earn through the programs?
So for the EMT program and the EMT Academy, you'll receive your EMR certification and the EMT certification. It is the exact same certification that every EMT has to take in order to function on an ambulance. It's the exact same class that is taught at the college. You just happen to earn it in high school instead of through the community college. Some of the other certifications you could get if you're doing your EMR and EMT is obviously you get your emergency medical or emergency vehicle operator license. So you learn how to drive the ambulance, drive during emergency traffic, CPR, obviously. And then your public safety students get their 911 dispatcher certification, and they also get their community emergency response training. And those kids also learn CPR and first aid.
What's the most rewarding part of training future first responders?
After 25 years, a lot of things kind of become mundane. You've seen the same thing over and over, and getting to see students for the very first time ventilating a patient with a bag valve mask, or see how excited they get about doing something like putting oxygen on that's become routine to me. Watching them get excited, it reminds me of how excited I was when I first started.
Mhm.
And it really kind of renews me and helps me to remember what that was like as a baby paramedic, and how far I've come, and then watching them grow as well is amazing.
So you like seeing your students like flourish out in the field of what you get to do?
Absolutely. And I love seeing my students working on the ambulance after school. Once they've graduated and moved on, it's really exciting to watch them kind of take that next step and move us into the future of EMS.
Mm. How does teamwork play a role in emergency and medical services?
You can't be in EMS without being able to work as a team. You're never going to be by yourself on an ambulance.
Yeah.
But by that same token, if you're in the emergency room, for example, you may have two or three nurses, a doctor, a respiratory therapist. On the ambulance, it's you and your partner. And, you guys are responsible for each other, and you're responsible for your patient. So you have to be able to work together with one other person. You rely on that person, but you also have to find a way to do in that little moving box
Mhm.
what they do in a large room with a much larger number of people.
It's a lot harder to work in the back of an ambulance.
Um, for me, I can't really say because I've only worked in the back of an ambulance. I've never worked in a clinical setting. Um, so I don't really know. I can't imagine not working in the back of an ambulance. It's controlled chaos.
Yeah. Um, what advice would you give to students considering a career in public safety or emergency medicine?
Be prepared. I think one of the biggest surprises for almost all of my students when they first come in is this class isn't like any class they've ever taken before. Um, both in the rigor, how difficult it is, how in depth it gets, and also how quickly it moves. But it's pretty uncensored. I mean, parents have to sign a waiver because who knows what you're going to see. So I would say be prepared. Understand that it's hard work. It's not like if you don't read one of your assignments for English, you might get a bad grade on a test, but it doesn't affect anyone else. If you don't pay attention to the proper way to insert an airway, you can cause harm to someone.
Yeah. If you weren't in public safety, what job would you have? Or you weren't in the field in general?
I would still be in medicine, I think. Um, Although I have heard that there are chocolate tasters in Disney and in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That was not offered to me on career day. I feel like that would be an excellent job for me. Also, beach tester would be an amazing job for me. But barring any kind of crazy thing like that, I'd still be in medicine. I think pediatrics would probably be my choice now. If I had the option to choose any medical career, it'd probably be pediatric um, intensivist, or maybe even just pediatrician, but definitely something within medicine.
Well, growing up, did you like see yourself being a teacher, being an EMS, like any of that?
Absolutely not. Um, I had I really didn't enjoy going to high school, quite frankly. I went to classes because it was an obstacle I had to go to or go through in order to get back to doing band.
Mhm.
I was the 100% band geek. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't care about anything else. So if you'd have asked me if I was going to spend my career in a high school after I was out, I'd have said, "You're crazy. Absolutely not." I also was squeamish. I didn't like blood, guts, vomit, broken bones, any of that. So it's really strange how things kind of take a turn. And now I can't imagine doing anything else.
Um, what got you into teaching?
Uh, One of my coworkers, Jill Taylor,
Mhm.
told me about the EMT program being taught here in Craven County, and they were trying to expand it out and start that program. And it wasn't something I even knew had happened. I knew that I was getting older. I was having a lot more difficulty keeping up with the day-to-day rigor of being a paramedic. And I said, "Hey, this is, I've taught at the college before. I'd like to continue to remain in EMS." And I just kind of investigated it and liked it.
So do you think like if you were to retire, are you gonna retire from both, or are you gonna retire from EMS and keep teaching?
Uh, I probably will retire from EMS first only because, I'm almost 50 years old. So at some point, it's going to be a little bit harder to climb in and out of an ambulance. I would like to continue to do EMS. I've known people to do EMS well into their 70s. Um, you know, as far as retirement, I'm sure that I've got another 20 years or so in me before I retire completely, but we'll see.
Pretty sure you do. What's the most intense situation you faced out in the field?
Honestly, it's so different every day. The big thing is just making sure that you're doing what's right for your patient every time you go out on a call. Obviously, anytime you have a pediatric patient, you kind of feel a little bit higher stakes
Yeah.
because that's someone's kid, and when you look at that kid, you think about your own family. Um, that's probably the most intense for me. That's also probably my favorite to take care of, though, are pediatric patients.
Why are pediatric patients your favorite?
They're challenging. They're different. You have to know a lot of different little ins and outs, and they're not very cooperative when they're scared and sick. So they're just challenging to deal with, but it's very rewarding to see them get better.
If you could give students one life-saving tip, what would it be?
Learn CPR.
Like,
CPR saves lives. No matter what else happens, there's never been a case of a cardiac arrest outside of the hospital where that person did not get CPR prior to getting to the hospital that survived with a quality of life. So learn CPR.
oh, sorry. When you became an EMT, did you have to like go through the schooling or stuff? Was it like easier to just like do like a class or something and then just go?
I went through the exact same class that you guys are going through now. And then when I became a medic, it was a paramedic course. It required a lot more clinical time. Like you guys do 48 hours of clinical ride time. I had to do close to 600 hours of ride time and clinical time to become a medic. But yeah, the class was pretty much the same. It's evolved a little bit, but pretty much the same process.
Could you ever see yourself like doing anything else at all?
I can, but I can't imagine what my life would have been like if I didn't have the opportunity to be a medic. It's shaped so many different things within my life. I can't imagine what I would be like without it.
So when you're learning first aid and CPR, which one do you think is more important to learn?
One is just as important as the other. Um, if somebody's bleeding and you don't know how to stop the bleeding, it's going to cause just as much of a problem if their heart's not beating because it's going to stop. So they're both just as important.
Um,
Kylie, I hope that you're enjoying the class. I'm looking forward to, I think you're taking your test tomorrow.
yep.
All right.
I
Good luck
do
with
enjoy
that.
the class. I really do.
Excellent.
Plan to be an EMT,
So maybe you will be working with me one day.
maybe.